So here we are, and at this time of year we usually do the North U, and how many of you guys have heard of the North U? So what the North U is it's, I did it a million years ago, but what it is, it's gone on, and it's kind of a traveling circuit where we either do tactics or we do trim, and so it's a good way for everyone at the beginning of the year to sort of brush up on their sailing and get thinking about it again, and doing stuff with rules and starting and how to set the sails and going through the new stuff as well. And so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do the North U very, very light and entertaining, hopefully. And we want to keep this as not only as entertaining as possible, but as interactive as possible, because usually what happens when we have a big group like this, and no one in particular, John Sharples, the skill level is higher or lower. So lower. Exactly. So if you feel like, for whatever reason, that it's starting to go over your head, you feel free to stop, because that's the whole point of the thing. Is we just want to work on getting a base. So tonight's topic is preparing not only for the race, but also getting everything ready for the season, and how to make the most out of your race, even if it's just a Wednesday night race or a Tuesday night race or a Monday night race, when you've only got 20 minutes to get from the dock to the starting line and hopefully back in the bar an hour later for a beer. Like most of the things that we're trying to work on, in addition to all the other outside things that we have control over, like what condition our boat's in, the rigging, the crew, and just everything that goes into it. And now what we're concerning ourselves with tonight is we've got all those things in place, and we're actually pretty much ready to untie to go to the race course. So we've cleaned the bottom, we've got the spinnaker packed, everything's ready to go. And so what we're dealing with now is from here to the race course, what we're going to be doing, and then we'll go through a little bit with a bit of strategy and starting strategy as it relates to how you go around the race course, and then we'll hopefully just do a little bit about the rules at the start, because that's always good fun. That's how you meet friends on the race course. I think the one misleading thing there, well, it's not really misleading, but it could be misleading, is when they talk about getting compass numbers, and it's pretty constant anywhere in BC because of geography, that usually one side of the course is a little bit better than the other, just because of more wind on one side or turns in the land and creating a Venturi effect or whatever scientific explanation you might have, and where they relate to this oscillating wind back and forth, which is good to know, but at the same time, because we do live in a geographical area, it's usually one side is favored because of thermal or something like that. So when they're getting these close hauled numbers, they're making sure that when they look at the jib, the telltales are flying back, and then they record the number, because if you're just sitting there swigging on your beer and writing down these numbers, you may be a little bit off close haul, which might be a good thing too. Maybe it forces you the correct way. The one thing that they say, oh, go head to wind and get a wind bearing and that sort of thing, for myself, especially if I'm late or there's really just not much time, or I want to check the line 2 or 3 minutes before the start because I think something might have changed, going head to wind is good, and then just sighting off the traveler or the cockpit, something that's perpendicular to the boat, and whichever side of the cockpit or traveler is going above the line, well then that's obviously not the favorite end, and we want to be down at the other end. So you paint a pretty good picture of that, and I think the main thing you want to avoid is when a line is really, really favored at one end, or are you going to go in there and be the hero, or are you going to do more of a timed run, more conservative, and give yourself some options. So you got to weigh that into your tactics as to what you really want and what you actually think you're going to be able to achieve. And because if everyone has the same idea, there's a good chance that there's going to be a nice pile up there, which is great, brings the crowds back, but not great if you have to pay for the damage.
I have a question. So when you come into a start line, like it's nice to see what you're supposed to do, but it never necessarily happens that way. So when you look into a start line, you're trying to find where you want to be, but there's probably a lot of other things going through your mind, where the other boats are.
Oh, for
well,
sure.
I know that you're an amazing starter, so what's going through your head when you get in there?
Well, I mean, I think for everyone, having a plan of where we want to be on the line it's easy for it to go astray because some other boat can slow down our approach to the line, or use the rules to slow us down, which we'll get into in a sec. And but it's a great area for, you know, if you're sailing with 3, 4, 5 or more people, to get the crew involved, having someone on the bow. And that's not only a lookout, but it's maybe calling the distance from the line, whether it be in boat lengths or feet or whatever you agree to if you're steering the boat. And then just knowing how long it's going to take the boat to accelerate. So if you get caught in a situation where you think it's going to take a really long time to get to the line, you know, the crew can work together and say, especially the person on the bow, they might see the line perfectly. But for me, when I'm steering the boat, I've got 2 boats on either side, and I can't see each end of the line. So it takes someone else on the boat to actually give me a bit of a heads up that, you know, we should be pulling the trigger and going for the line now. You know, I think though, as a crew, you know, everyone's got to know that you're probably never going to hit 100% efficiency all the time. So, and everyone's got to be comfortable with that. There shouldn't be any ego involved. So anything that anyone does to help the boat get to the line with speed better than the next boat, well then that's good. And as time goes on, everyone gets used to each other, and you know, your percentage just starts to climb from there.
So the teamwork is huge.
Huge, yeah, because the team works.
How do you sort of boost things?
Well, in my case, if I'm trimming the sails, you know, I'm listening to what the driver wants, because if they have to make the evasive action to slow the boat down because of another boat in the way, they might think we're approaching the line too quickly, and they might want to stop the boat. So as much as I want to look around and see how we're going against old Charlie over there, I still have to pay attention to what's going on there. And same with the person on the bow. You know, you have to judge your start not when the gun goes, and that's usually when the pictures are taken, but a good start is usually judged, you know, a minute or 2 into the race. And you know, ideally we want to be at the line, a close haul at full speed when the gun goes, and getting that exact precision down is really, really difficult for anyone. So so the closer we can get to that, the better we are. It's easy to keep the boat at the line, especially when you use those line sights or transits, but to actually get it close hauled at speed when the gun goes is, you know, takes some time for sure.
Ron, do you have different strategies for one design and then also PHRF sailing? And then with PHRF, big boat, heavy boat, light boat thing?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, without knowing what I'm sailing, like, you know, the ideal start that I'd like to get would be the type of start I would get in a very, very heavy boat with not much sail, and that would be one where you have a timed run and you're close hauled and you're going full speed to the line. And even if you're in something as small as a laser, although that may not be feasible, that's still going to be the best start you can get. So if you can work back from that, I think that's probably the best way to go. And knowing how long it takes a boat to get up to speed, you know, even a real fast boat like a rocket, you know, it probably takes, even at 10 knots of wind, probably takes 20 or more seconds to get up to full speed by the time you sheet the sails in and put the crew on the rail and get it going. So it's deceiving for sure. Yeah, so that's basically how I would look at it. And if it's a quicker boat, then obviously we can be close to the line before the gun goes. And slower the boat, we can be further away. We should be further away. And because we have the opposite problem where if we've got momentum and we're too close to the line, well, we can only slow the boat down so much. But not only that, we've got the herd coming in behind us, and they're pushing us towards the line, and we can't really turn down in front of them. So that's, I don't know if that answers that.
Just thinking of the PA Giraffe, you have small boats and big boats, and it's great if someone gets a perfect start in a small boat, but they get run over.
Yeah, for strategy, for a mixed starting line, you know, if you're the, you know, like Henry, he's the small chicken out there, you know, and you can probably comment on this, but, you know, certainly for me, you know, if I want to go to the left, I have to think about my approach to the line and how long I'm going to be able to stay on starboard tack out to the left before I start to get rolled by all the bigger boats. And then a contingency plan on top of that, that if they do roll us and take all our air, what am I going to do? Am I going to go out to the right and hope for a Hail Mary, or are we just going to do 2 tacks and then follow everyone over to the left and hopefully save our time and be heroes once again, you know, one of those scenarios. So that's basically how I deal with that. So in a small boat, in a multi-fleet where you've got a whole bunch of, you know, different sized boats, sometimes you have to start closer to the wrong end, but knowing that over time you're going to be going to the favorite side of the race course, and that little bit you gave away in the beginning, hopefully you're going to be able to get it back through a combination of other things.
How about some good creative ways to create holes in the line?
So, creative ways to create holes in the line? That's a good one. Yeah, explosives work well. Basically, you know, there's sort of a, you know, starting lines work in sort of a typical fashion where the boat that's early is being pushed and the ones that are late are pushing. So, and the ones that are pushing are hoping they're going to make it there on time, but they really don't have any other options other than that. So, so if you feel you're early, you know, you're trying to slow down the people around you so you can open up a space that you can sort of work in and slow the boat down, but not only slow everyone down, but, you know, hopefully get some space in between you and the other boats that you can actually put your bow down and get that 20 seconds or whatever you need at boat speed to come back up close haul when the gun goes. Should have sound here. But in this case, I'm sure this guy's going to start speaking in a minute now, but I'll beat to it. In this case, this boat obviously doesn't really have an option. Too early to the line, and doesn't really have enough space laterally to accelerate. So that's why they went head to wind and they've come back down. And before that, that's why the other boat came in on port, so they would maintain that distance down to the other end of the line. They could accelerate at their own rate. Now you can see the classic one of where the boat on the right is obviously way too early to the line.
That's more like it's going to
That's Pete right there.
Then you got these guys who are too early and too high. That's a common one. You can see it right here. That this group of boats is above the lay line coming into the back of the committee boat. In this case, the committee boat has a little spacer mark because they don't want to get their nice little paint job scratched. And so they're really, what's happening is they're boxed out. So as time rolls on, they're hoping that the whole herd is just going to go down the line and start, and then a nice little gap is going to open up and they're going to sneak in there. And as time obviously ran and we saw it, they get boxed out. And then you can already see this guy having trouble here. He's so he's only about half a boat length from the line now. Everyone's probably yelling at him.